afternoon, everyone. I am Adeline Uno, together with my partner, Sunico. For today's topic, we're going to tackle about social cognitive theory by Albert Bandura. But, gusto ko munang humingi ng pasensya sa mga manok na maiingay. So, before proceeding to our main topic, I just want to introduce Albert Bandura first. So, Albert Bandura was born on December 4, 1925. He was Canadian, American psychologist who was the professor in psychology at Stanford University. Bandura was responsible for contributions to the field of education and to several fields of psychology, including social cognitive theory, therapy, and personality psychology, and was also influenced in the transition between behaviorism and cognitive psychology. So he is also known as the originator of social learning. On the theoretical construct of self-efficacy, and is also responsible for the influential 1961 Bobodal experiment. This Bobodal experiment demonstrated the concept of observational learning. So, back to our main topic, Bandura asserts that most human behavior is learned through observation, imitation, and modeling. So, we humans, we can learn something through observation. For example, a sister and her sibling. So, yung ate, naglalaro ng Barbie doll. So, itong si Bunso, nakikurious kung paano bibihisan o aayusan ang kaniyang Barbie doll. So, ang gagawin is nag-o-observe siya kung paano. At, in the end, pagkatapos ng observation,
Albert Bandura, 1977, agrees with the behaviorist learning theory of classical conditioning and operant conditioning. So his theory added a social element, arguing that people can learn new information and behaviors by watching other people. Yes, yun nga yung example. Hindi lang, for example dito is, nagpunta tayo sa mall. So may isang taga bukid at may isang taga syudad. So itong si taga syudad is alam nila kung anong gagawin sa mga like for example water dispenser. So sa bukid wala masyadong ganyan, walang water dispenser. So yun, uminom si taga syudad. So ito si taga bukid is nakikita niya kung paano ginawa or paano gagawin yung paano gagamitin yung water dispenser. So, it happens na ginagaya or ginaya ni taga-bukid yung ginawa ni taga-syudad. So, that is why may nalaman or yung taga-bukid learned something from taga-syudad like that. So, known as observational learning, this type of learning can be used to explain a wide variety of behaviors, including those that often cannot be accounted by other learning theories. So, core concept about social cognitive theory. People can learn through observation. Yes, as I said earlier, people can learn through observing others. We can tell, masasabi natin na talagang nakaka-learn tayo through observing something. Example sa akin sarili, ako is hindi ko alam, wala pa ako masyadong alam sa bagay-bagay. So kaya pag pumupunta ako sa ibang lugar, nag-o-observe talaga ako sa mga kasama ko or sa mga kapaligiran kung anong ginagawa nila. At least may ma-learn ako through that observing. So, internal mental states are essential part of this process. is part of the core concept. So, as I said earlier, recap na lang is through reading, makaka-learn tayo at mas mapawiden pa yung mga alam natin dahil sa pagbabasa. And just because something has been learned, it does not mean that it will result in a change in behavior. So, for example dito, dito doon tayo kay Angelina Jolie. So, it doesn't mean na na-learn ko na ganito, ganyan si Angelina Jolie. It doesn't mean nagagayahin ko siya. At least, na-learn ko na ganyan siya makitungo sa ibang tao, na ganyan niya dadalhin yung sarili niya. It doesn't mean nagagayahin ko. The point is, I know and I learned something from her, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to change myself just because may nakuha ako sa kanya. So it's just sa kumbaga bonus na lang na may nalaman tayo, but it's not necessary to change your personality or to change your behavior just because you learn something from the others.
So once again, good morning. My name is Sunico and I am the one who discuss about the observational learning. So, observational learning is the process of learning through watching others, retaining the information, and then later replicating the behaviors that were observed. So, when you want to start observing someone's behavior, we should watch them first and then try to gather some information what they have, and then like what kind of behaviors they have, then try to write it down, and then anything about behaviors, and then later on we'll try to replicate or try to imitate it as the starting of the imitation and also for the beginning of observing someone's behavior. So next, also refer thus to shaping, modeling, and vigorous reinforcement. So when you want to imitate someone, the observational learning is also referred as the secondary, or we are the secondary to a person that we would like to imitate. So for example, in an actor, we want to imitate him because we like his behavior. Yes, his behavior, we like it very much, and then we try to imitate everything at him, no matter how his behavior, no matter what how his behavior, good or bad, as long as we want to imitate him because we want to like him, right? Next is, it tends to be the most common during our childhood as children learn from the authority figures and peers in their lives. So, the observational learning is already common during our childhood or in a toddler stage, because when we are at the little, we are trying to observe the behavior of someone older than us, and then we'll try to imitate their behaviors no matter what behavior it was, either it is a good or bad behavior, as long as we try to imitate. So for example, there is a behavior that we noticed before, like saying bad words. Yes, bad words. We also imitate that to someone because we thought that it was good, but it isn't. Saying a bad words is not a good behavior, but it could also an expression, but not a good behavior that we can imitate of. So next, Bandura identifies three basic models of observational learning. First is a life model, which involves an actual individual demonstrating or acting out a behavior. So, in a life model, morning mga actor or actresses that who are trying to imitate or trying to act out any kind of behaviors that they could. For example, in Magpakailanman or MMK, the starring actors or actresses are trying to imitate the story of one person in a story, and then they imitate that kind of behavior like what the real people do in its life. So what did the actors and actresses do is also trying to watch them first, or trying to gather some information about the behavior of a person, and then they try to act it out in a public or in any kind of media. So next, a symbolic model. Symbolic model which involves real or fictional characters displaying behaviors in books, films, television programs, or online media. So a symbolic model is also the involvement of characters in any series or movies, especially in fictional character. So when we like a one fictional character, so when we like a character in any kinds of fictional characters or fictional creations, we like to imitate his behavior because we like his action the most. So we try to practice it and then model it once we successfully perform its behavior. And next is a verbal instructional model which involves description and explanations of a behavior. So a verbal instructional model is a kind of modular notes that has any kinds of behavior in its description, and also how to act this kind of behavior, and also its descriptions, and then it also defines there on how good or how bad this kind of behavior it was. So the next is, according to Bandura'S research, there are a number of factors that increase the likelihood that a behavior will be imitated. Well, we are more likely to imitate people we perceive as warm and nurturing. So there are those people that we really love and closest to us in our life, that gives us a good influence, and also we want to imitate because we see how they care to us and also how they show love to us, and it is also a good influence to imitate that kind of behavior they show, and it could be also gives us a good influence. Next is people who receive rewards for their behavior. So there are those people that we already shown in TV before, that showing a good behavior to its fellow people, where he is helping them and also giving them what they can. So there are those kind of people which is a good example to us to imitate them, because they also gives us an influence to imitate them. And next is people who are in an authoritative position in our lives. So a kind of people who are also, which is higher, or which is our senior, and especially in a job where we respect because of their behaviors that gives us an influence to imitate, and then show it also to anyone that we are imitating their behavior according what we see in someone which is higher than us. And next is people who are similar to us in age, sex, and interest. So this kind of people who are the same interest as us. For example, you like the same franchise, like a Kamen Rider. Both of you like Kamen Rider, but of course you are on the same age, and also you are both male, but you like the same thing, which is Kamen Rider, where it also motivated you to imitate any characters in Kamen Rider franchise together with the same people, with the people with the same interest as you. So next, people who have admire or who are of a higher social status. So any kinds of people who are which is richer than us or who has an ability in life or Tagalog may kakayahan sa buhay that we want to imitate. For example, Elon Musk, a richest person in the world according to a survey that I did last year. So Elon Musk is the kind of person that you want to imitate because of his rich. Because he is rich. Yes. You want to imitate Elon Musk. Anything he has. His behavior, his action, and on the way how he live. And anything you will do just to imitate like Elon Musk. Next is when we lack confidence on our own knowledge or abilities. There is also the time that we don't have any confidence in any events or there's also the time that we don't have any confidence or we are shy in any kinds of event that we enter in, and it also affects our knowledge or abilities to perform. So for example, in mixed martial arts, you're joining the tournament very first time but you're still shy and don't have any confidence to show. But what will you do is try to imitate an MMA fighter, which is Conor McGregor. You want to imitate Conor McGregor because he is also your favorite fighter, and then you want to imitate his behavior, his action in the ring. So you want to imitate Conor McGregor and act out like Conor McGregor inside the ring, so that you could have gain confidence, and also you can imitate his any kind of abilities that McGregor shows. And next, when the situation is confusing, ambiguous, or unfamiliar, there are also some situations that where get confused, especially in a group of people with the same interest but you don't have the same interest as them. So what will you do is try to get along with them and imitate them on how they imitate their behaviors on what they talking about, and then just get along with them like you know the same thing and that you are familiar with this or you are knowledgeable about what it was. So next is the following steps are involved in the observational learning and modeling process. Attention. In order to learn, you need to be paying attention. So if you really wanted to learn that behavior, you really need to pay attention to a person that you would like to imitate, and then anything that distracts your attention is going to have a negative effects on observational learning. So don't let yourself get distracted in anyone that passing in front of him or anything that surrounds him, because it might distract you. For example, your focus is your attention was focused on that person, but there are some sexy chicks that pass in front of him, and then you get distracted because you were attracted to her beauty, but you don't let yourself get distracted. So what you should do is to stick to the person that you are trying to imitate. And then retention. The ability to store information is also an important part of the learning process. Retention can be affected by a number of factors, but the ability to pull up information later and act on it is vital to observational learning. So retention is that like a data gathering or trying to collect any information about that person that you want to imitate, especially the important part. But the retention can be also affected by a number of factors where there are some information that is possibility cannot be used because it is over, or you may be in a information overload. So this kind of ability is also a guide to a behavior that you really want to imitate. And then reproduction. Once you have paid attention to the model and retained from the information, it is time to actually perform the behavior you observe. For the practice and the learned behavior leads to important and skill advancement. So if you are really committed, or you feel that like you can do this to imitate, then you have to perform the behavior according what you observe, and then just try to practice and practice until that behavior will improve, and you will also learn some new skills about that behavior that you were observed. And finally, or lastly, motivation. In order for observational learning to be successful, you have to be motivated to imitate the behavior that has been modeled. Reinforcement and punishment play an important role in motivation. So, if you want to make this observational learning successful, never forget to use the person that you are imitated of as a motivation, and then to those people who are supported you for this, because without them you cannot imitate successfully that kind of behavior. And also thanks to them because you successfully modeled that kind of behavior with their guidance. And then our report will end here, and also thank you for listening, and we hope that you learned something.